For this week's podcast on English.com, we're talking about a surgical operation. 5 months ago, there were 4 kittens born on our sofa in the house, and it was time for one of them, the female, to be spayed, so she doesn't have any kittens herself. Now, you called the vet, didn't you, Richard?
Yes, Dr. Ziad, and so he came around, and I thought he'd come around, he was going to collect Minu, take her away and do the operation. But in actual fact, he showed up with his vet's bag, and then he said, well, where are we going to do it? And I said, do what? And he said, the operation. Have you got a table we can do it on? And he was going to do the operation in our house on the dining room table.
And you participated, Richard, in the operation. He needed you to help him.
Yes. Well, basically, he gave Minu an injection to knock her out.
A general anaesthetic.
Yes. And then we cleared the dining room table, and he lay her on the table, and then he asked for some sellotape.
And what did he need the sellotape for?
He tied her rear legs to the end of the table so she wouldn't move. And then he got the scissors out and he cut all the hair from her stomach and then shaved her. So there's a big bare patch in her stomach. Then he covered her with iodine to sterilise the area. And then he put this cloth over her with a little hole in the middle for her stomach.
That must have been very strange.
Very strange, especially because her eyes were open. So it was a bit odd to see her asleep, but she had her eyes wide open, so that was a bit scary. And then he got the scalpel out, the knife, and he just slit her stomach.
And was there a lot of blood?
No, there wasn't. Very little blood, hardly any at all.
And once he'd made the cut, what could you see inside?
First of all, there was just layers of fat, and he cut through the fat. Inside, you could see the intestines, which was a bit scary as well. And also, you could see she was moving. Her insides were actually moving around a little bit.
Oh, that must have been very strange.
Yes, it was a little bit disturbing, I must admit.
So did you actually participate in any of the operation, Richard?
Actually, yes. He opened her up. And he gave me these clamps. They looked like scissors, and they were holding on to her skin to keep the hole open as he had his fingers inside. So I was actually holding these things as he was fiddling inside her, looking for her...
fallopian tubes?
That's right, for her uterus and her fallopian tubes, all her female bits. And then he said... he felt her intestines, and he said she'd been eating stones. And, it was very strange.
He found the fallopian tubes?
Well, I must admit that was the problem. He was there for ages. And even at one stage, before he found them, she started convulsing on the table. All her intestines were moving. That was a little bit disturbing. But anyway, eventually he found the fallopian tubes. He tied a knot in them, and that was it.
And then he sewed her back up again? Yep,
he sewed her back up again. Put lots of powder on her, I think antibiotic powder, and that was it really.
And after he'd sewn her up, did he say he needed to come back to do anything?
The stitches, apparently, they'd just be absorbed, and he didn't need to come back at all. He said everything was fine and she'd be fine in a few days. He didn't even put a bandage on her.
No bandage?
No, nothing.
But she's all right now, isn't she?
She's absolutely fine.
Now, Richard, I know that you have told me that if you hadn't been a teacher, you would have liked to have been a vet. How do you feel about that now?
Yes, I'm not so sure about that now.